Ladies and gentlemen, every single one of us faces challenges, obstacles that seem immovable, setbacks that break our momentum, and moments of doubt that cloud our purpose. But it's not the presence of the challenge that defines us, it's how we respond to it. To rise above a challenge is not to avoid it, it's to confront it head on with courage, resilience, and a belief in something greater than our fear. Challenges are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. They test our spirit, push our limits, and reveal the strength we didn't know we had. Think of every person you admire, leaders, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. What sets them apart is not an easy path, but a relentless refusal to give up when things got hard. So, when life throws something at you that feels too big to handle, remember this: you were built for the climb. The higher the mountain, the more breathtaking the view. Rise above the doubt, rise above the fear. Rise above the failure, because greatness doesn't live in comfort, it lives in the struggle. Let us be the kind of people who don't retreat when things get hard, but rise up, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. 1. Challenges are inevitable, but not defining life doesn't promise ease, and it certainly doesn't exempt anyone from facing difficulties. Whether you're young or old, rich or poor, experienced or just starting out, challenges are a universal part of the human experience. They come in many forms: failure, loss, disappointment, betrayal, rejection, or simply the slow grind of working toward a dream that feels just out of reach. It can be easy to think that when we're going through something hard, we're alone in our struggle. But the truth is, nobody gets a free pass, even the people we admire most, the icons, the innovators, the legends. They all faced incredible adversity. What separates those who rise from those who fall isn't whether they faced challenges, but how they responded to them. You see, challenges do not define your worth, your intelligence, or your future. They are events, sometimes painful, sometimes overwhelming, but they are not permanent reflections of who you are. Too often, people make the mistake of believing that a setback is a sign they're not good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. But the reality is, facing a challenge doesn't say anything about your potential. It only gives you an opportunity to reveal it. Think about how we admire stories of perseverance. We cheer for the athlete who came back after an injury, the student who failed but got up again, the entrepreneur who was told no 100 times before they heard their first yes. Why do we admire them? Because they remind us of what we're capable of. They show us that it's not our hardships that define our story. It's the way we fight through them. They show us that strength isn't the absence of struggle. It's the refusal to let struggle define us. When we internalize that truth, we begin to shift our mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we begin to ask, "What can this teach me? How can I grow through this?" That's the moment we start to reclaim our power, not by avoiding the challenge, but by walking through it with purpose, because rising above doesn't start when the challenge ends. It starts the moment you decide you're bigger than what's in front of you. 2. Growth comes through resistance. If you've ever tried to build physical strength, you know that muscles don't grow when things are easy. They grow under pressure, through tension, through resistance. It's when we push ourselves beyond our comfort zone, when we lift something heavier than we've ever lifted before, that our bodies adapt and become stronger. The same principle applies to life. Real growth, mental, emotional, and spiritual, doesn't happen when everything is going smoothly. It happens in the moments when we're challenged, stretched, and tested. We often wish for easier paths, for smoother journeys, but the truth is, ease rarely teaches us anything. Comfort can be a beautiful place to rest, but it's a dangerous place to grow. It's in discomfort that we find out who we really are. It's in those moments of struggle, when things don't go according to plan, when obstacles block our way, when doubts creep in, that we're given the opportunity to develop resilience, patience, creativity, and grit. Resistance is a powerful teacher. It forces us to examine our assumptions, strengthen our convictions, and clarify our purpose. When we face a challenge and choose not to give up, we gain more than just a solution to a problem. We gain character. We gain the kind of internal strength that can't be taught in a classroom or bought in a store. It has to be earned, and it's earned through effort, through persistence, and through the willingness to keep showing up when things are hard. Sometimes growth is uncomfortable. Sometimes it means failing before we succeed. Sometimes it means starting over again and again. But every time we rise after falling, every time we choose to continue instead of quit, we stretch the boundaries of what we thought was possible. We expand our capacity to handle life, to lead others, and to face whatever comes next with greater confidence. People often ask, why is this so hard? The answer is because what you're building is worth it. Because easy never shaped anyone into a leader, a fighter, or a visionary, the struggle you face now is the training ground for the strength you'll need later. Growth doesn't come from standing still, it comes from stepping forward, even when every step feels like a battle. 3. Courage is a choice, not a feeling. When we think of courage, we often picture heroes, people who seem fearless in the face of danger, bold in moments of uncertainty, unshaken by the chaos around them. But that image can be misleading. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's not some magical feeling that shows up when everything is finally safe or certain. In fact, courage often shows up when fear is at its loudest. The truth is, courage is not something you wait to feel. It's something you choose to act on. If we waited to feel courageous before doing hard things, we'd never take the first step. Fear would always win. That's why courage must be intentional. It's a decision you make when your knees are shaking, when your voice trembles, when your heart races. It's standing up when it would be easier to stay seated. It's speaking out when silence would feel safer. Courage is the quiet, powerful voice that says, I'm going to try anyway, even when doubt is screaming in your ear. Courage shows itself in both big and small ways. It's not just found on battlefields or in moments of crisis. It's found in daily life, in the student who raises their hand despite the fear of being wrong, in the parent who keeps going through exhaustion and uncertainty, in the dreamer who continues building after 100 failures. Every act of bravery, no matter how small, builds your strength over time. Every courageous choice reinforces the truth that fear doesn't have to control your life. Often, we think we need to wait until we feel ready, until we're no longer afraid. But readiness is a myth. Growth requires action before you feel fully prepared. Courage is what bridges the gap between fear and movement. It's the energy that carries you forward when your emotions try to hold you back. What makes courage so powerful is that it builds momentum. The more you choose it, the stronger it becomes. The more you face fear, the more you realize fear isn't the enemy. It's just a signal that you're on the edge of something important. Something that has the potential to grow you, to shape you, to push you beyond what you thought was possible. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it means taking just one small step. But those steps add up, and over time they transform you into someone who rises, not because fear disappeared, but because you refuse to let it decide your story. 4. Every setback carries a lesson. Setbacks can feel like the end of the road. Whether it's a failed exam, a missed opportunity, a broken relationship, or a business that didn't go as planned, setbacks have a way of stopping us in our tracks. They're frustrating, painful, and often disheartening. But as difficult as they are, setbacks are not failures in the grand story of our lives. They are chapters of learning, and if we pay attention, they become some of the most valuable teachers we'll ever have. The immediate response to a setback is often disappointment or self-doubt. We ask ourselves, why did this happen? Or worse, what's wrong with me? But what if we asked a different question? What is this teaching me? Because the truth is, every experience that knocks us down also offers us the chance to rise stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the road ahead. In fact, many of the most successful and inspiring individuals didn't just experience setbacks, they needed them. Those tough moments stripped away illusions, refined their character, revealed their weaknesses, and forced them to grow. Setbacks expose what we might not have noticed before, the flaws in our strategy, the gaps in our preparation, or the strength we didn't realize we were missing. And through that exposure comes awareness, and through awareness, change. Think of a setback not as punishment, but as redirection. Sometimes we're so focused on one path that we fail to see a better one waiting for us. A door closing might be painful, but it might also be protecting you from something that wasn't meant for you, or pushing you towards something greater. There's wisdom in every misstep, and often, the greater the fall, the deeper the lesson. But we only uncover those lessons if we're willing to look. That means taking a pause, reflecting with honesty, and asking ourselves tough questions. What went wrong? What part did I play? What can I do differently next time? This isn't about blaming ourselves, it's about taking ownership. When we own our setbacks, we take back our power from them. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance and start seeing ourselves as students of life. Setbacks also teach us about resilience. You don't know how strong you are until you have to recover from something you didn't think you could survive. You don't understand perseverance until you're forced to move forward without a clear path. Each setback is like resistance training for the soul. It breaks you down just enough to rebuild you stronger than before. In the end, the value of a setback is not in the failure itself, but in what you take from it. Will it define you or refine you? Will it close you off or open you up to something new? The lesson is always there, waiting to be found, not to hurt you, but to shape you into someone who is capable of far more than you ever imagined. 5. Resilience builds inner strength. Resilience is not something you're born with, it's something you build. It's not a trait reserved for the lucky few who seem to bounce back effortlessly. Resilience is a skill, a mindset, a daily choice to keep going, especially when everything inside you says to stop. And the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. At its core, resilience is the ability to recover from difficulty, to adapt in the face of hardship, and to keep moving forward when circumstances push against you. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain or disappointment. It means you don't let those emotions have the final word. You feel the weight of the challenge, but you refuse to let it crush your spirit. You may bend, but you don't break. We often think of strength as something external, physical power, assertive confidence, or commanding presence. But inner strength is quieter, deeper, and more lasting. It's the calm determination that lives inside someone who has been through storms and still chooses to rise. Resilience is what fuels that strength. It's developed in the dark, difficult places, when the road is unclear, when the outcome is uncertain, when hope feels like a whisper rather than a roar. Resilience doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. It's built every time you take a small step forward after being knocked back. It's reinforced when you fail but try again, when you cry but still show up, when you doubt yourself but keep moving anyway. These moments, while often unnoticed by others, are where your inner strength is being forged, and like any muscle, resilience grows through repetition. The more you endure, the more capable you become. The more storms you weather, the more confidence you gain that you can survive the next one. You begin to realize that struggle doesn't diminish you, it develops you, that challenges don't shrink your potential, they sharpen it. There will always be situations that test your patience, your faith, your endurance. Life can be unpredictable and at times brutally unfair. But resilience gives you the ability to stand in the face of that unfairness and say, I may not control everything that happens to me, but I control how I respond. That mindset is empowering. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your life, no matter how rough the road may get. What's powerful about resilience is that it's contagious. When others see you rise despite hardship, they are encouraged to do the same. Your ability to keep going becomes a beacon for those around you. Your story of perseverance has the power to light someone else's way, even when you're still walking through your own darkness. Resilience teaches us that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like a quiet decision to get up one more time. It looks like continuing even when there's no applause, no recognition. Just the inner knowing that giving up isn't who you are. 6. Your mindset shapes your outcome. Everything begins in the mind. Before a single step is taken, before a single word is spoken or decision is made, your mindset is already at work, silently influencing your direction. What you believe about yourself, your abilities, and your circumstances plays a massive role in determining how you face challenges and whether you rise above them or fall beneath their weight. Mindset isn't just positive thinking or blind optimism. It's the lens through which you see the world. Two people can face the same obstacle, but how they respond often has less to do with the size of the challenge and more to do with the beliefs they carry inside. One sees a wall and gives up. The other sees a wall and looks for a way to climb, go around, or break through. The difference isn't physical strength or luck, it's mindset. A fixed mindset says, "This is too hard. I'll never be good at this. I'm not capable." A growth mindset, however, says, "This is difficult, but I can learn. I can improve. I can figure it out if I don't give up." The former shuts down potential. The latter opens it up. And that difference in perspective often determines who makes it to the other side of adversity. When you cultivate a mindset of resilience, curiosity, and persistence, you begin to see setbacks not as dead ends, but as detours. You stop seeing failure as a reflection of your worth and start seeing it as feedback for your next attempt. Your thoughts become tools, not weapons that sabotage you, but instruments that help you rebuild, refocus, and recharge. This is why your mindset is perhaps the most powerful asset you have. It determines how you interpret hardship, how you deal with rejection, and how quickly you get back on your feet after being knocked down. A strong mindset doesn't eliminate pain or struggle, but it gives you the mental framework to endure it and to extract meaning from it. Your inner dialogue, the words you say to yourself, can either empower you or drain you. If you're constantly feeding yourself thoughts of doubt, fear, and limitation, then your actions will reflect that. But if you make a habit of speaking life into your situation, of reminding yourself of your capabilities, of choosing hope even when it feels out of reach, you start to act differently. You begin to carry yourself with confidence. You start looking for solutions instead of excuses. You start to rise, and here's the most encouraging part. Your mindset is not fixed. It can be trained. Just like a muscle, it grows through repetition and conscious effort. It grows when you challenge your negative thoughts, when you take control of your inner narrative, when you decide that your circumstances don't define your ceiling. Every time you choose to believe in your ability to adapt, to learn, to persist, you are shaping a mindset that will carry you through anything. Ultimately, what happens around you matters, but what happens within you matters more. The world can be unpredictable, challenges will come, but when your mind is prepared, your spirit is grounded, and your perspective is strong, there is almost nothing you cannot overcome. 7. Success is on the other side of struggle. We all want success. We dream of it, chase it, and set goals with it in mind. But what many people don't realize is that success rarely comes without struggle. It doesn't arrive wrapped in comfort or ease. Instead, it often hides behind long hours, failed attempts, emotional setbacks, and moments where giving up feels like the only option. If you truly want to rise, you must be willing to walk through the valley before you reach the peak, because everything worth achieving comes with a price, and that price is struggle. The most successful people in the world, whether in sports, business, the arts, or personal development, have all faced obstacles. Some were rejected countless times, others failed publicly, lost everything, or were told they weren't good enough. But instead of walking away, they leaned in. They embraced the process. They understood a fundamental truth. Struggle is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a signal that you are on the edge of transformation. Success isn't just about talent, intelligence, or opportunity. Those things matter, yes, but they are not the deciding factors. It's the person who continues after others quit, who keeps pushing through discomfort, who is willing to keep going when the excitement has faded. That person is the one who reaches the finish line. Struggle builds endurance. It teaches discipline, it forges character, and it prepares you to handle the weight of success when it finally arrives. When things are hard, when progress is slow, when doors keep closing, it's easy to believe that you're not meant to succeed. But that's a lie. The struggle doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're in the middle of your becoming. You're in the process of building something real, and anything real, anything lasting, takes time, patience, and persistence. Think of it like climbing a mountain. The climb is steep. Your legs ache, the air gets thin, and every step feels heavier than the last. But the higher you go, the more expansive your view becomes. And when you finally reach the top, the beauty of the journey outweighs the pain of the process. That summit moment is made meaningful because of the struggle it took to get there. What many people don't see is that success that comes too easily often fades just as fast. But success that is earned through sweat, sacrifice, and relentless determination is the kind that lasts. It's the kind that changes who you are, not just what you have, and that kind of success is only found on the far side of hardship. So the question isn't whether you'll face struggle, it's whether you'll keep going when it gets hard. Will you press on when you feel tired, when progress seems invisible, when you doubt if it's even worth it? Because if you do, if you refuse to stop, you'll discover that every moment of pain, every obstacle, and every detour was not there to stop you, but to shape you into the person capable of holding the success you've been chasing.